If you can still read this, you're already too close. Captain Rel Vask didn't believe in ghost stories. He believed in fuel burn, sensor math, and the kind of cold certainty that kept ships alive. But even he felt his throat tighten when the Terran warning beacon appeared on the main display. Simple, bright, and impossible to ignore. Terran territory. Do not enter. Trespassing guarantees death. No diplomacy. No speeches. Just a promise. The bridge of the Imperial cruiser Viridian Spear was silent except for the hum of engines and the soft taps of consoles. Every officer had heard the stories. Imperial scout ships that crossed this border and vanished. No wreckage. No signals. No survivors. Not even a final scream on the emergency band. Captain Rel stared at the darkness ahead. Terran space looked empty. Too empty, like a room that had been cleaned so perfectly it felt unnatural. Report, he said. Comms officer Dyra shifted. No incoming transmissions, Captain. No Terran hails. No patrol codes. Tactical, Rel asked. Lieutenant Cavos frowned at his panel. No contacts on scan. No weapon locks. No engine trails. Space is quiet. The word quiet didn't comfort anyone. Rel turned to the navigator. Confirm coordinates. Junior navigator Sen hesitated before speaking. He was young enough to still show fear, which made him useful. Fear made people careful. Coordinates confirm, Sen said. Captain, we are at the border of Terran territory. Rel nodded. Good. Set a short jump across the boundary. Sen's fingers hovered over the controls. Sir, request clarification. Rel's eyes narrowed. Speak. We were authorized for reconnaissance, Sen said carefully. Observation from the edge. Not trespass. A few heads turned. On a ship like this, no one challenged a captain openly unless the air itself felt wrong. Rel stepped closer, lowering his voice. The Senate wants proof. Proof requires proximity. Proximity requires courage. Sen swallowed, or it requires a death wish. For a moment, the bridge felt colder. Rel straightened. Set the vector. Sen obeyed. As the jump drive charged, Rel studied the beacon one last time. Trespassing guarantees death. The Empire hated those words. Not because they were insulting, because the Empire couldn't disprove them. Rel didn't come here for pride. He came here for answers. The Emperor wanted the secret behind the Terran dead zone. The Admiralty wanted salvage. The Senate wanted a headline that made Terrans look human. Killable, predictable, controllable. Rel wanted promotion. Jump sequence ready, Sen announced. Rel's jaw tightened. Execute. Space folded. Stars stretched into silver lines. The cruiser slipped through the seam between distances. Then reality snapped back. A new starfield appeared. The Terran beacon was gone behind them. They were inside Terran territory now. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Rel exhaled as if he'd been holding his breath for hours. See, he said, voice too confident. No monsters. No curses. The bridge lights flickered. Not like a power fault. Like something vast had blinked. And in that blink, the ship had been noticed. Cavo stiffened. Captain, I'm reading an anomaly. Define anomaly, Rel said sharply. Cavos' hands flew across the console. I can't. It doesn't register as a ship. No heat. No mass lock. It's like a shadow on the sensors. A shadow, Rel repeated, irritation masking unease. Dyra leaned forward. Captain, I'm receiving a signal. Rel's head snapped toward her. From Terrans? Dyra shook her head slowly. No, sir. It's from us. Rel frowned. Explain. Our ship is broadcasting, she said. An outgoing message. But we didn't authorize any transmission. Cut it, Rel ordered. I can't, Dyra whispered. It's not using our comm array. It's coming from everywhere, like the hull itself is speaking. Rel moved to her station. Put on main. The bridge speakers crackled. Then a voice filled the room. Calm, human, perfectly clear. Their translator rendered it into Viridian language instantly, without lag, without errors, like it had been prepared in advance. Viridian vessel, you have entered Terran territory. Rel forced his voice steady. This is Captain Rel Vask of the Imperial cruiser Viridian Spear. Identify yourself. A pause. Identity is irrelevant. You were warned. Rel's hands tightened behind his back. We come in peace. This is reconnaissance only. Another pause, longer this time, as if the Terrans were deciding whether the lie deserved a reply. Incorrect. You crossed with intent. Your ship is armed. Your hold contains boarding equipment and extraction drones. The bridge froze. A few officers glanced toward the cargo readouts, as if they could hide the truth by not looking. Rel felt sweat gather at his neck. How do you know our cargo? The voice sounded almost bored. Because you're inside a monitored zone. Your systems were red the moment you arrived. Cavo swore under his breath. Captain, our sensors just went blind. External scan is gone. It's like someone put a curtain over space. Sen whispered, almost to himself. Terrans don't defend borders with fleets. They defend them with rules. Rel snapped silence. But the words landed anyway. Rules. Not threats. Not warnings. A law that always ended the same way. The human voice returned. You have 60 seconds to turn back. Rel stared at the display. If we comply, you let us go? Yes. One simple word. It should have eased him. Instead, it terrified him. Because it meant the Terrans were so confident, they didn't even fear the Empire learning the truth. Rel turned to Sen. Align jump drive for exit. Prepare to leave, but hold. Sen's eyes widened. Captain, hold. Rel repeated, watching the countdown appear on the main screen. 00:59, 00:58. Rel lifted his chin. Your beacon is not law. We are a sovereign Empire vessel. The bridge went dead silent. The Terran voice came back colder, not angry, just final. Then you have chosen the other option. And on Cavos' console, the shadow multiplied, filling the space around them like something enormous shifting in the dark, closing in without engines, without sound. They weren't being chased. They were being claimed. The countdown kept dropping like a hammer. 00:47, 00:46. Captain Rel Vask felt every eye on the bridge try not to look at him directly. Fear had a strange effect on disciplined crews. They didn't panic. They waited for the captain to become a miracle. Rel forced his voice steady. Engineering. Status on jump drive. Chief Engineer Morrow's voice came through the intercom, tight and clipped. Drive is primed, Captain. But something's interfering with our field stabilizers. It's like our own systems are being rewritten as we speak. Rel's stomach tightened. By whom? A pause. Then Morrow swallowed, audibly. Captain, not by who. By what? Cavos leaned over his tactical console, fingers shaking now. Sir, external sensors are still blind. But internal diagnostics show we're being scanned from multiple angles, except there are no beams. No emissions. It's like the ship is being listened to. Dyra's voice dropped. Captain, the translator module is active without permission. It's running at maximum priority, like someone made sure we'd understand every word. Rel stared at the timer. 00:39, 00:38. He'd flown into wars. He'd boarded pirate dreadnoughts. He'd survived mutiny once. But this felt different. In battle, you could see the enemy. You could measure the threat. Here, the threat was invisible and already inside. Rel turned sharply to Sen. Exit vector. Now. Sen's hands moved fast, almost desperate. Vector locked. Jump drive can be engaged immediately, if engineering can hold the stabilizers. Do it, Rel ordered. Morrow, force it. Morrow's reply came like a groan. Attempting override. The deck vibrated as the jump coils charged. For a split second, relief flared on the bridge because they still had movement, still had choice. Then every display on the bridge flashed white. Not a system crash, not random static. A clean, deliberate message replaced the star map. You have been indexed. Rel felt his pulse slam. What does that mean? Dyra's fingers flew. Captain, it's not coming through comms. It's being injected into our interface directly. Cavos cursed, voice rough. That's impossible. That would require access at the hardware level. The human voice returned, calm as before, like it was reading a rule from a manual. Viridian vessel, you attempted to bypass the boundary protocol. Boundary protocol cannot be bypassed. Rel leaned forward. We are leaving. Stand down. You were offered departure under compliance. You rejected compliance. The timer kept falling. 00:27. 00:26. Rel's jaw clenched. We can still comply. We can still turn back. A pause. Compliance window closed. No anger. No cruelty. Just a fact. Cavos slammed his palm on his console. Captain, anomaly count increasing. I'm getting multiple shadows now. They're surrounding us. Put it visual, Rel snapped. Cavos tried. The tactical screen didn't show ships. It showed distortions, ripples in space, like dark water circling a drowning animal. And in the center of those ripples sat the Viridian spear, bright and loud and helpless. Sen whispered, voice barely there. This isn't a border. It's a trap. Rel spun. It's not a trap if you were warned. Sen flinched but didn't back down. Sir, look at the wording. Trespassing guarantees death. Not may result. Not likely. Guaranteed. That's not intimidation. That's a system. Rel forced his mind into command logic. There was always a lever. A weakness. A loophole. He stepped to comms. Terran voice. This is Captain Rel Vask. We will pay a fine. We will offer reparations. We will surrender our boarding equipment. Name a price. The bridge waited. The reply came immediately. Terran territory is not a marketplace. Rel tried again, slower. Then name your condition for survival. Another pause, almost gentle. Condition was obedience. You chose pride. The timer hit 0:15. Dyra's face went pale. Captain, I'm seeing an internal alert. Our own ship is opening the cargo bay doors. Rel's head snapped toward her. We did not authorize that. I know, Dyra whispered. But the locks are disengaging. On the side screens, camera feeds from the cargo hold flickered on by themselves. Crates were stacked in neat rows. Extraction drones sat idle like sleeping insects. Boarding gear was sealed in military containers. Then the bay doors began to open. A slow, smooth motion, like the ship was offering its throat. Morrow's voice burst through the intercom, panicked now. Captain, they've had access to the ship's command bus. I'm locked out of my own systems. Rel felt anger rise, sharp and hot. Terrans, this is an act of war. The human voice replied, almost tired. No, war is a conversation. This is enforcement. The timer reached 0:08. Cavos stared at the distortions on the tactical display. Captain, the shadows are aligning. Like a net tightening. The stars outside the bridge glass shifted, not the ship moving. Space itself moving, bending, like the universe was being folded around them. Sen gripped the edge of his station. Captain, I think the zone isn't empty. Rel's eyes narrowed. Then what is it? Sen swallowed. It's a machine. A border machine. The timer hit 0:03. Rel felt the bridge hold its breath. 00:02. 00:01. The human voice spoke one final time in that calm, precise tone. Sentence begins, and the darkness around the cruiser lit up. Not with explosions, not with lasers, but with a silent, expanding ring of pale light that swallowed signal, swallowed heat, swallowed sound, swallowed space. The Viridian spear didn't shatter. It didn't burn. It simply started to vanish, piece by piece, like a file being deleted from reality. Rel lunged forward, grabbing the comm rail. No! His voice cut off as the bridge screens went black. Not power loss. Not destruction. Erasure. And the last thing Captain Rel Vass saw was not death in fire, but death in perfect quiet order. Operator Mina Cho sipped lukewarm coffee and watched another foreign warship drift into the red circle on her screen. It was always the same pattern. They approached slowly, like predators. They stared at the beacon like it was an insult. They crossed anyway, convinced the universe would bend for their pride. Mina leaned back in her chair, the faint glow of the monitoring room washing her face in soft blue. The facility around her didn't look like a fortress. No banners. No trophies. Just clean panels, sealed doors, and quiet hums that sounded more like a hospital than a military station. Above her console, a simple sign was bolted to the wall. Border enforcement. No warnings beyond the beacon. She tapped the screen, enlarging the incoming vessel's profile. The system had already tagged it. Viridian Empire Cruiser. Armament. Heavy. Cargo. Boarding plus extraction. Intent probability. Hostile 91%. Mina exhaled. 91. That's almost polite. Beside her, senior analyst Hargrove didn't smile. He had been on duty when the first Empire fleet tried to test Terran territory 20 years ago. Back then, the Terrans had responded the old way. Ships, weapons, battles. Too much blood. Too much noise. Too much temptation for enemies to call it a fair fight. Now, Terrans didn't fight. They enforced. Hargrove nodded at her screen. Beacon triggered? Beacon triggered, Mina confirmed. They saw it. They read it. They pretended it was a bluff. She pressed a key. A new window opened. The ship's bridge feed mirrored from the moment it crossed the line. Foreign captains always looked the same when the zone indexed them. First confidence, then confusion, then that last quiet moment when they realized they weren't facing an army. They were facing a rule. Hargrove's voice stayed flat. Offer them the compliance window. Mina did. She didn't speak into a mic. She didn't broadcast through radio. The zone spoke through the intruder's own systems, because radio could be jammed and pride could pretend it didn't hear. Her console displayed the outgoing message. You have entered Terran territory. Turn back within 60 seconds. Compliance equals survival. Mina watched the bridge feed. The alien captain, Rel Vask, according to the auto-translation, stood tall, hands behind his back, like posture could protect him from physics. He's going to refuse, Mina murmured. Hargrove's eyes stayed on the screen. They always refused the first time. Why? Mina asked, though she already knew the answer. Because their empires are built on theater, Hargrove said. And theater can't accept a sign that says death without trying to prove it wrong. The ship's crew showed fear. The captain showed defiance. Mina watched his lips move as he declared sovereignty. The compliance window ticked down. 00:59, 00:58. Mina didn't feel pleasure. She didn't feel anger. Only a quiet sadness that intelligent beings could travel the stars and still be trapped inside pride. The captain's refusal registered. The zone updated the status. Compliance. Rejected. Enforcement. Authorized. Hargrove nodded once. Proceed. Mina's fingers hovered above the next command. This was the part she hated, not because it was violent, but because it was irreversible. She looked to the side of her console, where a small photo was taped in place. A Terran colony ship, torn in half, its hull burned and black. Under it, handwritten in permanent marker. We warned them. They laughed. A memory from before the zone existed. Before enforcement. Before the silence. Mina pressed the key. Index confirmed. Boundary, protocol locked. Sentence begins. On her screen, the alien ship's lights flickered. Their systems struggled. Their cargo doors opened against their will. Why open the cargo doors? Mina asked, voice low. Hargrove didn't look away. Because the zone isn't just punishment. It's proof. It records everything. So when they go home, they can't pretend they were innocent explorers. But they won't go home, Mina said. Hargrove's jaw tightened. Not this time. Mina watched the zone form around the vessel, an invisible mesh of warped space and precise mathematics. The shadows the aliens feared weren't ships. They weren't creatures. They were nodes, silent devices planted long ago, anchored to dark matter points like nails in the fabric of the universe. The zone didn't fire. It didn't explode. It didn't burn. It simply edited reality in a small, contained volume. It removed what didn't belong. Mina's console displayed the enforcement radius, a pale ring expanding around the intruder. Inside it, signals dropped to 0. Heat vanished. Even gravity became confused for a moment. The ship began to fade, not fast like a blast, slow like a choice being erased. Mina felt her throat tighten. Even after years, She hated watching something alive disappear. In the bridge feed, the alien captain grabbed a rail, mouth open in a shout no one could hear. His crew clung to stations. Their eyes were wide with the first true understanding. They weren't dying to Terran weapons. They were dying to Terran boundaries. The ship dissolved into black. Then the ring collapsed back into nothing. And space returned to normal, clean, and quiet. No debris, no radiation, no evidence, except the recording archived forever in Terran defense systems. Mina leaned back, exhaling through her nose. Done. Her console chimed. Enforcement complete. Casualties, 100%. Contamination, 0. Zone integrity, stable. Hargrove finally looked away from the screen. Log it. Mina's fingers moved, typing the report she had written too many times. Viridian cruiser trespassed. Hostile intent confirmed. Compliance refused. Sentence executed. She paused before submitting. Sir, how many more times do we do this before they stop? Hargrove stared at the dark monitor like it could answer for him. As many times as it takes, he said quietly, because the zone isn't built to teach them with words. He nodded toward the beacon icon on her map, still blinking at the border, still simple. They get one warning, he continued. And if they ignore it, then we teach them with certainty. Mina looked back at the empty space where the cruiser had been. She whispered, almost to herself, the Empire was warned. On her screen, a new alert appeared. Another contact at the edge. Another arrogant approach. Another ship reading the beacon. And Mina's coffee suddenly tasted colder. The Viridian Empire didn't notice the loss immediately. In the Imperial capital, towers of glass and metal rose above a planet-wide city. Senate halls echoed with speeches. Admirals argued about budgets. The Emperor's ministers fought over which border to pressure next. And somewhere far beyond their maps, the cruiser Viridian Spear simply stopped existing. No distress call. No wreckage. No heroic last stand. Just silence. At first, command assumed a technical failure. Jump malfunction. Reactor collapse. Deep space accident. Convenient stories. Because convenient stories didn't require anyone to admit fear. Then, 7 hours later, the impossible happened. A data packet arrived. Not through the Empire's military network. Not through encrypted channels. It appeared simultaneously in 1,000 places. Senate servers, Admiralty records, even civilian news relays. Like it had been dropped into the Empire's bloodstream. Every screen in the High Fleet Command Center flickered. Then the same words appeared in bold Imperial script. You were warned. Admiral Kor, Supreme Commander of the Northern Expansion, stared at the message with a face that didn't know whether to be furious or afraid. Trace it, he snapped. Technicians jumped. We can't, sir. There's no source address. No signal trail. It's as if it came from inside our own system. Admiral Kor slammed his fist on the table. Nothing comes from nowhere. A younger officer, Captain Lisa Marin, intelligence liaison, spoke carefully. With respect, sir, Terrans have been making nothing happen for decades. Kor turned his glare on her. And you think this is Terran? Lisa didn't flinch. I think it's deliberate. The message changed. A new window opened itself, overriding every security protocol in the room. Video began to play, grainy at first, then sharpening as if the file was correcting its own quality. It was the bridge feed of the Viridian Spear. Gasps spread through the command center. It was impossible to have live footage of a ship that had vanished beyond the Terran border. And yet here it was shown from multiple angles, perfectly time-stamped. They watched Captain Rel Vask stand tall, declare sovereignty, and reject the compliance window. They watched the countdown appear. They watched the shadows surround the ship. And they watched the moment the cruiser began to fade, not explode, not shatter, just erase. When the feed ended, the room was dead quiet. Then the screen displayed a final line, simple and cold. This is your proof. Admiral Kor's lips curled with rage. They murdered an Imperial cruiser and sent us a recording like a lecture. Lisa's voice stayed steady. No, sir. They didn't murder it. Kor snapped. What would you call it? I would call it enforcement, Lisa said. They offered escape. Rel refused. They executed a rule. That word, rule, felt dangerous. Empires could handle enemies. They could handle rebels. They could even handle wars. Rules that could not be argued with. That was something else. A minister from the emperor's court arrived moments later, robes flowing, eyes sharp. He moved like someone used to giving commands without raising his voice. "Admiral," the minister said. His radiance demands an explanation. Core straightened. "Terran aggression, minister. They have escalated." Lisa's gaze flicked to the screen. "Or they have clarified." The minister's eyes narrowed. "Clarified what?" Lisa pointed to the last frame of the video, frozen on the Terran message. Compliance window closed. "They're telling us the border is automated," she said. "Not negotiated, not defended by ships. It's defended by a system, a mechanism." One of the technicians spoke, trembling. "Sir, there's more." The screens changed again. A star map appeared, Terran space highlighted in a wide arc. But something new glowed along the border, faint dots like beads on a string. "Are those mines?" Core demanded. The technician shook his head. "Not mines, sir. They're anchors. We're reading gravitational anomalies aligned across the entire boundary." Lisa leaned forward. "Nodes." The room chilled. Core frowned. "Explain." Lisa spoke slowly, choosing words the room could accept. "A field network. A border that isn't guarded by patrols, because the border itself is the weapon." The minister's face tightened. "And you are saying we cannot cross?" Lisa looked directly at him. "I'm saying we can cross." She tapped the frozen video. "And we will die every time we do." Admiral Core's pride flared. "Then we hit them with overwhelming force." Lisa didn't argue emotionally. She argued with logic. "We don't know what overwhelming means to Terrans. Their system erased a cruiser without firing. If it scales, a fleet would vanish the same way, quietly." Core's jaw worked. He hated that she was right. The minister's voice dropped. "His radiance will not accept being contained." Lisa's eyes hardened. "Containment isn't humiliation, minister. It's survival." Another officer, older, scarred, a veteran of the Lost Fleet investigations, finally spoke. "Sir, Terrans didn't send this to threaten us." Core glared. "Then why?" The veteran took a breath. "They sent it to prevent us from lying to ourselves." Silence again. "Because that was the Empire's greatest skill, turning fear into a story of courage, turning defeat into propaganda, turning caution into weakness. Terrans had removed that option." The minister stared at the screen, at the border dotted with nodes. "So what do they want?" Lisa answered without hesitation. "They want us to stop." Core barked a bitter laugh. "And if we don't?" Lisa's voice was quiet but sharp. "Then we keep feeding ships into their zone until the Empire runs out of ships, or runs out of pride." For the first time, Admiral Core looked less angry and more uncertain. The minister turned away, robes whispering. "His radiance will convene the War Council." Lisa watched him go. She didn't trust councils. Councils were where pride dressed itself up as strategy. As the doors closed, the command center screens flickered one more time. A final Terran line appeared, delivered like a stamp on a document. One border, one rule, one outcome. And beneath it, a countdown, not for ship this time, for the Empire. The Emperor did not attend the War Council. He didn't need to. His throne hovered above the chamber like a dark moon, empty but watching, an old imperial trick, a reminder that every voice in the room belonged to him, even if he wasn't physically there to hear it. 12 figures sat around the circular table. Admirals, senators, ministers, and one intelligence officer who looked like she wished she were anywhere else. Captain Lisa Marin stood at the edge of the room, hands folded behind her back, the Terran border map glowing beside her. Admiral Core paced. A single cruiser proved nothing. It could have been sabotage, a prototype weapon, an anomaly. "We require confirmation." Senator Dow leaned forward, smiling like a blade. "Confirmation is the polite word. We require humiliation of the Terrans." Lisa held her tongue. Minister Varos spoke calmly. "His radiance believes containment is intolerable. The Empire expands, or it collapses. This has always been true. Lisa finally spoke, voice controlled. Expanding into a wall does not make us strong. It makes us reckless. Admiral Core turned sharply. Then propose an alternative. Lisa pointed at the map. Do not trespass. Fortify our side. Open diplomatic channels. Use probes. Use remote observation. Stop feeding them ships. Senator Dow laughed. Diplomacy? With the species that erased an Imperial cruiser and mailed us the recording? It wasn't diplomacy, Lisa replied. It was instruction. Core slammed a fist on the table. Enough philosophy. We need data. We send a fleet, small, controlled. 3 ships. If the zone is real, we measure it. If it's not, we push through. Lisa's heart sank. 3 ships became 10. 10 became 100. That was how empires died. Slowly, by refusing to learn. She tried one last time. Admiral, a fleet won't measure an erasure system. If it acts on rules, it will treat each ship as a violation. And then you'll have 3 recordings of death instead of 1. Core's eyes narrowed. Unless we force it to react differently. How? Lisa asked. Senator Dow's smile widened. By sending something new. Guards rolled in a sealed containment cylinder the height of a person. Its surface was matte black, marked with biohazard symbols and military warning stripes. Lisa's stomach tightened. What is that? Minister Varos answered like he was discussing cargo. A neural imprint device. We placed it in the hold of the Viridian Spear as part of Captain Vast's mission. Lisa's blood went cold. You didn't tell Command Center. Varos shrugged. Need to know. Admiral Core's voice sharpened. The device records a living mind. If the Terran zone reads systems, then perhaps it will read this. Perhaps it will reveal how it works. Lisa stared. That is insane. Senator Dow leaned in, delighted. Not insane. Innovative. Lisa forced her voice steady. If Terrans can access our ship's systems instantly, they can access that too. You're not stealing their secret. You're handing them ours. The chamber went quiet for a moment. Then Admiral Core spoke with absolute confidence, the kind that always came before disaster. Terrans are not gods. They are beings. They have limits. We will find them. The council voted. 8 for the test fleet. 3 against. 1 abstained, the Emperor's empty throne. The result was treated like destiny. Lisa left the chamber with a tight jaw and a heavy chest. Outside, a tall corridor of stone and metal carried her footsteps like an accusation. Behind her, she heard the minister's final words echo. Prepare the fleet. Crossing is inevitable. 3 days later, the test fleet assembled at the Terran border. The lead ship was a dreadnought, Imperial Promise, twice the mass of the Viridian Spear. 2 escort cruisers flanked it, their weapon arrays charged, their crews briefed with heroic speeches that tasted like lies. Captain Lisa Marin stood aboard the Imperial Promise as an observer, a polite name for witness. The Terran beacon blinked ahead, unchanged. Terran territory. Do not enter. Trespassing guarantees death. Admiral Core appeared on the bridge hollow, larger than life. We cross together, he commanded. We record everything. We do not panic. We do not retreat. Lisa watched the officers nod. She watched them swallow fear and call it discipline. She watched them become fuel. Jump ready, the navigator reported. The lead ship's engines surged. Space folded, and the fleet crossed the line. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then the bridge lights flickered, and every ship in the fleet received the same message at the same time. You have been indexed. Lisa's breath caught. This time, the voice that followed didn't come from one ship's speakers. It came from everywhere. 3 bridges, 3 systems, 1 calm, Terran tone. Viridian Fleet. You have entered Terran territory. Admiral Core's hollow flickered with anger. We are on a lawful mission of inquiry. Identify your authority. A pause. Authority, Terran border protocol. The compliance timer appeared again. 60 seconds to depart. Lisa's eyes darted across the bridge. Officers looked to Core's hollow, waiting. And Core, proud, furious, desperate to look strong, did exactly what Lisa feared. He refused. This is Imperial space by right of expansion, he declared. Your beacon is a bluff. Silence. Then the Terran voice replied, slightly different now. Not colder, not angrier, just more specific. You have brought a neural imprint device. Lisa's blood froze. Core's hollow stiffened. That is classified. Nothing inside the zone is classified. The countdown continued. 00:41. 00:40. On Lisa's console, warnings blossomed like infection. Systems overridden. External sensors blinded. Cargo bay locks disengaged. The Terrans weren't reacting to their guns. They were reacting to their intent. Then the Terran voice said something that turned the bridge to stone. This time, one of you will return. Lisa's eyes widened. Return. Core snapped. What do you mean? The voice answered, calm as law. One survivor will be released to deliver the lesson. A shiver ran through the entire bridge. Because death they could face. But being chosen? That was worse. And as the countdown dropped under 30 seconds, Lisa realized the cruel truth. The Terrans didn't need to kill them all to win. They only needed one witness. And the Empire would tear itself apart, deciding what that witness meant. The zone did not feel like an attack. It felt like a decision. As the countdown fell, the bridge of the Imperial Promise filled with alarms that sounded more like confusion than danger. Systems shouting that they were being accessed, overridden, rearranged. Lisa Marin watched the status panels change without permission. External sensors, offline. Comms array, bypassed. Weapons locked, disabled. Jump drive locked. And beneath it all, one line repeated like a heartbeat. You have been indexed. Admiral Core's hologram stood rigid, refusing to show fear. All ships, maintain formation, he barked. Prepare to force the boundary. Lisa stared at him like he was a man commanding the tide. The Terran voice returned, smooth and emotionless. Compliance window is active. Turn back. Core snarled. We will not be contained. The compliance timer fell past 10 seconds. 00:09. 00:08. Lisa's mouth went dry. She realized, with a kind of sick clarity, that the Terrans were not negotiating with Core. They were watching him demonstrate exactly why the zone existed. Then the voice said it again. One survivor will be released to deliver the lesson. The bridge fell silent. Even the most loyal officers stopped pretending courage could protect them. Core's eyes snapped toward Lisa, as if he suddenly understood what a survivor meant. Someone chosen. Someone spared. Someone who would have to live with the memory. What do you want? He demanded. Name your terms. A pause, barely a breath. Term, do not trespass. The timer hit 0:03. Lisa's fingers curled around the edge of her console. She could feel her heartbeat in her teeth. 00:02. 00:01. The Terran voice spoke. Sentence begins. Outside the bridge glass, space did something no officer had ever trained for. The stars didn't move. Reality did. A pale ring expanded around the fleet, silent and perfect. It wasn't light in the normal sense. It didn't cast shadows. It didn't glow. It simply defined an area, and within that area, the universe behaved differently. The escort cruiser to the left began to fade first. Not burn, not crack. It became transparent, layer by layer, like someone turning down its existence. A terrified voice screamed over internal comms, then cut off midward. The ring touched the second escort cruiser. It vanished faster, as if the zone had already learned the pattern. The Imperial Promise was last. Lisa watched officers clutch their stations. Some prayed, some cursed, some simply stared, unable to accept that death could arrive without violence. Admiral Core's hologram flickered and then froze, his face caught in a furious snarl. The ring reached the bridge. Lisa felt a moment of weightlessness, like the floor had forgotten gravity. Her vision sharpened until she could see tiny pores on the skin of the officer beside her. Then everything went quiet. Not quiet like silence. Quiet like a room after the air has been removed. Lisa tried to breathe. Air existed. Her lungs worked, but it felt like she was breathing inside a sealed memory. Then, suddenly, every screen on the bridge snapped to a single symbol. Selected. A small arrow pointed at her station. Lisa's blood turned cold. No, she whispered. The Terran voice spoke directly into the ship's translator again, so close it felt like it was inside her head. Captain Lisa Marin, Intelligence Liaison. You advise retreat. You were outvoted. Lisa's lips trembled. You read our council records. Yes. Why me? She asked, voice cracking. A pause, just long enough to feel like consideration. Because you will report accurately. The ring brightened at the edges of her vision. She felt her body loosen, like invisible hands had unhooked her from the ship. The last thing she saw of the Imperial Promise was an officer reaching toward her, his mouth forming her name, before he faded into nothing along with the bridge around him. Then Lisa was falling, not through space, through distance, through a corridor of folded reality that had no color, no sound, and no sensation except one terrifying certainty. She was being moved like cargo. The transition ended abruptly. She slammed into a padded chair. Air rushed into her lungs like she'd been drowning. Lights, metal walls, familiar Imperial architecture. She was on an Empire station, outside Terran territory. A dozen guards burst into the room, weapons raised, faces pale. Captain Marin, someone shouted. Al, how are you? Lisa blinked, shaking, trying to speak. And then she saw what lay on the table in front of her. A small black device, no bigger than a fist. It wasn't Imperial made. It had no seams, no markings, and it pulsed faintly like a sleeping heart. A screen on the wall flickered to life without anyone touching it. The Terran voice spoke one final time, broadcasted across the entire station, overriding every security system the Empire had. This is the gift you try to steal. The station's technicians froze. Lisa's breath caught. The voice continued. It is not a weapon. It is a recorder. The pulsing device on the table activated. A projection filled the air, an image of the Terran border, dotted with nodes like beads on a wire, spanning a distance so massive it made the Empire's maps look childish. Then the Terran voice spoke with the calm finality of law. Terran territory is guarded by consequence, not by presence. We do not chase trespassers. We erase them. We do not wage border wars. We end them. The projection shifted to an archival scene. Terran colony ships burning in old footage, civilians dead, rescue teams pulling bodies from vacuum-torn hulls. Lisa's stomach twisted. The Terran voice lowered, not emotional, but heavy with history. Long ago, empires tested our patience. They called it expansion. We called it invasion. We tried battles. We tried treaties. We tried warnings. They kept coming. The device pulsed again. So we built a border that cannot be argued with. One warning, one rule, one outcome. The voice paused, and for the first time, it sounded almost human. Tell your emperor, we are not afraid of your ships. We're tired of them. The screen went dark. The station's alarms returned, blinking like embarrassed servants who had been forced to bow. No one spoke, because the Empire had finally received what it demanded. Proof. Not of Terran power, of Terran certainty. Lisa stood slowly, legs trembling. Every officer in the room stared at her like she was a ghost. She swallowed hard and spoke, voice shaking but clear. They're not defending their border, she said. They're enforcing it. A commander whispered. And if we cross again? Lisa looked at the black device, then at the terrified faces around her. If we cross again, she said quietly, we won't get a witness next time. Outside the station windows, the stars looked the same as always. But now the Empire knew the truth hidden behind that simple beacon. Terran territory wasn't guarded by fleets. It was guarded by a promise that never lied. And the Empire had been warned.